This is my second faith talk, and I am so thankful to be able to do another. My first was at the 2017 Junior High Youth Gathering. I let people into my life, but it was only a little glimpse, and I did not share my full, true story. So here it goes. I've had anxiety since second grade, but I'm sure my parents would say there were signs even before then. My anxiety originated as test anxiety and expanded into full-blown anxiety later. Every year from second to seventh grade, my parents asked my teachers what we could do. I could get answers right on tests and on homework and in class, but I couldn't on tests. I'm in 8th grade, and in act of mercy, my science teacher noticed my struggle and helped me and my parents get what I needed, a 504 plan. If you don't know what a 504 plan is, basically it gives me accommodations for my mental health in school. You have no idea what a relief that was for me. Shortly after that, I officially got diagnosed with anxiety, found a therapist, got diagnosed with depression, and decided to start medication. It also did not take long for people to realize that something was different. I was not there for tests, I would leave school for chiropractor appointments, and was able to leave the classroom when I needed to. I remember when one person in particular found out that I had a 504 plan, he responded by saying, "But I thought those were for stupid people." The same kid shouted, "Emma, you're stupid," at me as I rode my bike past his friend's house in 7th grade, but that's not important, just ironic. That moment is when I knew I had to take control of my story and make it my own, and that's when my lies started. In my interpersonal communications class this semester, we had to do an assignment on how others see us, how we see ourselves, and how we want to be seen. I struggled with this assignment and had to redo it multiple times. I asked people to tell me how they see me, and this is what I got back. Olivia, next slide, please. Thank you. I got back that I was smart, hardworking, well-driven, happy, and more. Then I had to do how I see myself. Next slide. And I put that I was sensitive, sad, an activist, and anxious. The hardest one to do was our ideal self and how I want to be seen, because that's my lie. Next slide. I came up with I want to be truly happy, but not also forget about my past and how I will eventually overcome my mental illness. I want people to see God in me, and I want to be able to see God in others. I recently purchased The Mermaid's Voice Returns in This One by Amanda Lovelace. The first page describes me to a T. It reads, "I have a terrible habit of writing myself braver than I'll ever be, and I'm not sure who I'm trying to convince, you or me." I like to say that I'm open about my mental health. I mean, I've cried and had panic attacks in front of way too many people not to be, but my openness is a lie. I want people to perceive me as strong and invincible. For every time I cry, I make sure I do something that makes me seem 100 times stronger. I have rewritten this speech more times than I can count simply because I caught myself going back into the same lie. When I gave my first faith talk, I wanted to be there for others, and I enjoyed listening to everyone who talked to me. I truly did, but I did not take time for myself. If any of my friends ever needed an ear, I was there, but I could not put the burden on someone else to listen to me. Anxiety makes me feel the need that I have to have control and to be a leader, and that's one of my greatest strengths and also my fatal flaw. A majority of people with anxiety need to have control because it makes them think, at least, that they can control the unknown. I don't have to worry about getting something done for someone else or not meeting their standards. I'm simply doing it for me. At the junior high gathering this last year, I went on taking my assumed role for leading my servant team in nightlife. The next morning when we had our meeting to discuss how things went, we discussed ways to do things differently, and that did not vibe well at all with my anxious mind. 2 adult leaders on the board noticed that something was off, and we had a long talk before the second gathering on me trying to lose control of it and just being able to sit back and relax. And I gotta say, that was very tough to do. Later in the evening, when LYO and the Shepherds were doing their highs and lows, I admitted to everybody my struggle because having that conversation was my God moment. I was honestly shocked by the number of people that didn't know that I was anxiety controlled. I didn't know I was able to hide things so well. I've always tried to walk humbly by hiding my struggles. I didn't want to ask for help. I didn't want pity. I just wanted to skate on through life like others. But that's what made it worse. I built up everything until it exploded in the form of a panic attack, and most of the time, that was at school. School, unfortunately, is where my mental health got worse, and I have a feeling some of you in here could say the same. It wasn't just school, it was also school sports. I know people who've had the complete opposite experience that they have had at my school and the team, so please do not assume that my story is theirs. I also won't name the team because I know and care for people who are still on it. Don't get me wrong, I had some incredible experiences on the team, but I do not think that a medal at state was worth sacrificing my mental health. I don't want to go into more detail about that experience, but I eventually left the team after being benched from an injury. Also, as I mentioned, I'm a PSEO student, so I'm hardly at my school. I have always had anxiety and depression, and that's not by any means the school's fault, but the environment definitely made it worse. So I left my team and my school. Some people told me that quitting is not the option and that I should have stuck it out. The example of what are you going to do if you have a tough boss? Quit? Was thrown at me multiple times. But I want you guys to know that if you are in a place that is mentally unhealthy for you, you can leave, whether it's a team, a school, or a job. You need to do justice to your mental health. It is just as important as your physical health. I haven't really talked about my faith yet, but I'm getting there. As I mentioned, I have anxiety and depression, and it's always been there with me. I don't know a life without it. It's always just been sitting there on my left shoulder. But I also knew that God was never going to leave me, and He was always there, sitting on my right. I'm not one of those people that pick up on signs from God that the others see. I also don't go to church every Sunday, and some days I forget to pray. But that doesn't make me a bad Christian, and that doesn't make you a bad one either if you're like me. Because guess what? We all believe in God, so we're going to the same place. God doesn't love me any less than He loves the person who prays daily and makes sure that they get to church. Believing and worshiping God goes beyond just going to church every Sunday. I help out our LYO advisor, Sarah Houskin, with WOW and an after-school group at our church. There have been countless times where I've seen God through the kids that I have helped and the ones who have helped me. I now live 40 miles away from my church, and WOW is one of the ways I get to worship. Because, let's be honest, I don't want to wake up super early in the morning to drive 40 miles. Before I finish, I want you guys all to know how much these gatherings mean to me. After every gathering, my mental health is on a high for weeks. I've never been somewhere so supportive and accepting. I have an abundance of God moments at gatherings. I get to see God through our gathering participants, not always by the situations that I am in, but the ones I get to see. By taking pictures of LYO and the gathering participants, I get to see all the special moments that you share with others. And that really warms my heart. In November at the junior high youth gathering, the last one, I was having a really hard time deciding on where I wanted to go to college. And afterwards, I knew I couldn't go anywhere else besides Gustavus Adolphus College. I need to be on a campus I can live like this on. Also, if there's any future Gusties here, please talk to me. I'm still looking for a roommate. Hey! I also want to thank the LYO board. You guys mean the world to me, and I'm so thankful for each and every one of you. I also want to send a message to our soon-to-be-announced 2019-2020 board. Cherish every moment you have with each other, because I can't believe my time on the board is almost over. Know how much you mean to each other in Southwestern Minnesota youth. And to everyone here, I want you all to know how much you are loved by God, even when you don't feel it. You also don't have to lose your faith to be able to bounce back and find it. Everyone takes their own time to find their faith. Whether or not you have a story like me or any of the other faith talkers, you have your own with God. Thank you.